Being a superstar athlete is an intense responsibility. Us fans might be quick to confess that getting millions of dollars to play basketball is a godsend, and in many ways it is. You get the endorsements, the contract incentives, immense opportunities to grow your individual brand, and most importantly, financial security for generations of families that will come after you. But with that being said, being famous with lots of money is tough business. You must be keen on your decision making and always look to be a step or two ahead of the curve. All that power that you're afforded as a professional athlete is a hugely sensitive commodity. One or two mishaps can change the long-standing fortunes of an athlete. So predictably, the athletes we love the most will go leaps and bounds to try and shield some things from the public. After all, a lot of things are on the line. Your contract, reputation, business endeavors of now and the future. Hey, your entire career. But even the most high-profile secrets will sometimes make their way into the wake of the public for everyone to learn about. Secrets can tell us a great deal about a player, and while players might try hard to defend these secrets from being leaked to the public, it's important to acknowledge some of these are fascinating facts. Just remember this, you might not look at these players the same way after learning about some of their craziest secrets. So, here's 5 of the darkest secrets of your favorite NBA stars. Number 5, James Harden's abuse of power in Houston.
Skip, it takes a special type of person to have power and not abuse it.
James Harden's tenure as a Houston Rocket was quite confounding. The Rockets emerged as a legitimate playoff threat in Harden's second season with the team in 2013 when they finished second in the conference. This would be the beginning of the Harden Rockets' contention for an NBA title. Houston would go on to make the playoffs and finish among the top dogs in the conference for 6 consecutive seasons. But you could point to a host of reasons that caused the Rockets' underwhelming playoff success. They faced some dynastic competition for some of those years, and some years they were hit with an unfortunate injury bug, namely to CP3 in the 2018 Western Conference Finals, and even a handful of bad performances from Harden in crucial games. The 12-turnover game, Game 6 against the Warriors in 2019, Game 7 against the Clippers in 2015, you get the point. But that's not to dismiss Harden's brilliance in his 8 seasons in Houston. He won an MVP award, he averaged more than 30 points per game in multiple seasons, and shattered a plethora of records in both team history and NBA history. He was special through many of those years and put Houston back on the map as a contender for the title since the days with Hakeem. However, what was happening behind closed doors may have ultimately been the reason why Houston never quite met their great potential. It ended badly with some star teammates for Harden. The rift with CP3, how he ran Dwight Howard out of town, and his fallout with Russell Westbrook. What was the common denominator in all? It was James Harden. After Harden literally quit his way out of Houston and landed alongside Kyrie and Kevin Durant in Brooklyn, there were a few reports that pointed out Harden's often turbulent time with teammates in the front office when he was a Rocket. Several reports indicated that the Rockets established the culture of whatever James wants. Harden would always be late for practices and film sessions. In his brief time with the Rockets, Westbrook, who was a longtime friend of Harden, reportedly would get so tired of Harden's negligence of customary team protocols that one time before a film session, Westbrook began shouting, "Start the film, start without him." Westbrook was appalled with the culture that had been established in Houston that was doing whatever made James Harden happy. When Harden played alongside Chris Paul, CP3 would reportedly be frustrated with the way Houston allowed Harden to dictate the team travel schedule. Whenever they would get on the bus or the plane to travel to the opponent's arena, it was 100% Harden's say. And we know one thing for certain, people will always take advantage of people that would do anything to please them. In this case, Harden abused the respect Houston gave him for being the best player on the team, which ultimately is the essence of how the Harden Rockets era slowly deteriorated. Number 4, the Kyrie KD secret. After the Nets flamed out in the first round against the Celtics in the 2022 playoffs, people wondered if both Kyrie and KD were correct in deciding to leave their former squads to link up with each other in Brooklyn. After all, both of their respective former teams made the 2022 NBA Finals. That's certainly saying something, right? We can go on all day speculating when Kyrie and KD decided that they wanted to play with each other. We all remember how it ended for Kyrie in Boston when it was reported that the Celtics players wanted Kyrie gone. And for KD, it was the whole conflict with Draymond Green and when he called KD out saying, "We won before you got here, leave." So, during the 2019 NBA All-Star Weekend, Kyrie and KD reportedly would talk all the time and be away from the rest of the players during practice. In the locker room before the start of the All-Star game, Kyrie was caught saying "two" and putting up 2 fingers when talking to KD, which many believe that Kyrie was referring to the 2 max contracts the Brooklyn Nets could offer them during the free agency that summer. Besides, both players were in a funk with their current situations at the time. Weirdly, both wouldn't even talk to their teammates off the court and would lash out at the media if any questions broached the 2 of them joining Brooklyn in the free agency. I guess we can now confirm that they were indeed talking about linking up in Brooklyn. Number 3, Durant's burner accounts. KD's an interesting dude. We saw two sides of him, the nice guy and the villain. When Durant was in OKC, he was often lauded for his laid-back nature and his Tim Duncan-esque leadership style. But when KD endured a national verbal beating by fans and the media for joining a Warriors team he had down 3-1 in the conference finals, his identity seemingly flipped entirely.
Kevin Durant heading to the Golden State Warriors. How are you viewing this move from Durant?
Well, I'm viewing it as the weakest move I've ever seen from a superstar.
KD may have stood up to and ultimately vanquished that verbal beating by winning his first ever Finals MVP a year later, but still, he felt the need to fire back at critics, and he took a wildly unconventional route in doing so. Early in 2018, the story around Durant's Twitter and Instagram burner accounts became a real story.
The bottom line is Kevin Durant is creating egg avatar Twitter accounts to argue with anonymous 17-year-olds on Twitter, and I love it so much.
Why?
I'm so happy that this is...
Those burner accounts reportedly liked and retweeted social posts saying that Durant was a better player than Steph and LeBron, and that KD has become the best in the world. A lot of people were caught off guard when they heard the stories surrounding Durant's possible involvement in fake accounts. People called KD soft and thin-skinned. KD dispelled the idea that he used fake social media accounts to promote himself on or to like posts saying that he was better than said player, but he never really escaped the notion that he is the most sensitive superstar in the league. Even KD's teammates used the burner account stories to poke fun at Durant after games and during practices. Durant didn't love that either. Number 2, LeBron's broken hand in 2019 NBA playoffs. The 2018 NBA Finals saw the Cavs and the Warriors square off for the 4th time in as many years. Although the series was a sweep in favor of the loaded Warriors, there was something truly wild brewing behind closed doors. We all remember the iconic final moments of Game 1. J.R. Smith heroically snagged a rebound over 7-foot-tall Kevin Durant, but then very non-heroically ran backwards and ran off the final precious seconds of regulation. That will forever be known as the J.R. blunder game, which is a shame considering LeBron's historic 51 points on a barrage of epic distance shooting and clutch shots. The disheartened Cavs got blown out in overtime, squandering a unique opportunity to steal Game 1 on the road as prohibitive underdogs. After Game 1 in the Cavs locker room, LeBron allegedly punched a whiteboard in frustration over JR's blunder, and he punched it so hard that he broke his left hand, per reports that had knowledge of the situation.
LeBron James has been playing the last 3 games with a serious right hand injury that he suffered after punching a blackboard in the locker room in Golden State following Game 1.
What's fascinating about this is how everything played out in the rest of the series. If LeBron really broke his hand, why didn't anyone know about it until after the series was over? Another thing, LeBron never had his hand wrapped or in a cast until he was seen wearing a soft cast on his left hand after the Cavs lost the series. Something's not right here. Was LeBron trying to protect his image with the way he planned on handling his alleged broken hand in front of the media? Number 1, Andre Iguodala's master plan to join the Warriors. Andre Iguodala clearly saw a dynasty in the making before anyone else did. Let's go back to 2013 when a veteran Nuggets team took on the Warriors led by young Steph Curry in the first round of the playoffs. Now, after the Warriors surprisingly took a 3-1 lead on the Nuggets, who were the NBA's best home team during the 2013 regular season, this is when things grew strange between Andre Iguodala and the Warriors. The team Iguodala would end up departing for just a couple of months later. After the Warriors took control of the series, it was reported that Andre Iguodala was leaking inside information to Warriors coach Mark Jackson. He said that we, the Nuggets, are trying to hurt Curry. And incredibly, after Game 5 of that series, Mark Jackson was quoted saying,
"The screen on Curry by the foul line, is a shot at his ankle. I've got inside information that some people don't like that brand of basketball, and they clearly didn't co-sign it. So they wanted to let me know that they had no parts in what was taking place."
There was some speculation that Mark Jackson was referring to the Nuggets' Andre Iguodala in these quotes, and that Iguodala was the one that was telling Mark Jackson about the Nuggets' game plan to intentionally injure Steph Curry. But when the entire story really exploded was when Nuggets coach George Karl accused Iguodala of going behind the team's back to share all the inside information with the Warriors. Karl even went as far as saying that the team gradually figured out that Iggy was kind of favoring Golden State. If the claims were true that the Nuggets tried to hurt Curry, it obviously was a terrible look for Karl and the Nuggets. And while it wasn't the best look for Iggy to be going behind the team's back like that, I mean, hey, he was just looking out for his eventual star point guard that he would go on to win championships with. What an insane story. I mean, seriously. Whose side would you have taken, Iggy's or the Nuggets? For all the stunning performances and wild entertainment we have routinely seen on the court, the NBA will always be just as entertaining for all the off-court storylines, secrets, and conspiracies. The funny thing is that there are so many secrets and stories like the ones we talked about today that are rarely remembered. Amazingly enough, many of the secrets of the players in the NBA go on to dictate the league in one way or another. These were just some of the more recent examples of stunning player secrets, and it shows us the domino effect of crazy circumstances that can transpire afterwards. Now you tell us, are there other stories about player secrets that profoundly impacted the league?